and speak out. Other than that, I will leave it. We are having a quiz, by the way, afterwards that will have to be done by Friday, since Friday is the last day of school, even if it is a snow day. But it'll be, I'm sure you'll find quite worth your while doing. There we go. Okay, so Mr. Drew, off to you.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Neil. Hopefully the quiz isn't about this presentation, but if it is, that's cool as well. Thanks for having me.
It's actually, how many guitars does Neil have on his wall?
Oh God.
Yes,
how many guitars do you have?
Well, that's the secret, because you can't see all the walls, right? So it could be any number. There's like one there, but there's 53 over here. So that's
oh man, animators and guitars, it's a thing. Well, thanks for having me. Like Neil said, my name is Drew. I'm from House of Cool. I'm going to talk to you today about storyboards, which is something that House of Cool has been doing for 18 years. I'll give you a little rundown about House of Cool as well. But just to start, I'm going to go through some of my presentation. We'll have a little break area time as well. But if you have questions while we're going through it, please just unmute your microphone. Just say, excuse me, I got a question. I'd rather answer them while we're talking about a specific subject, rather than waiting till the end and trying to remember it. If we have something right then and there, let's take care of that. And also, very happy that see some of you guys have your cameras on. I really appreciate that. It's always the pandemic thing of keeping it off, but you guys are ambitious and have your cameras on, so thank you. Let's see, I'm gonna do a little share screen. Too many windows open. Let's see, it's this one. I think. Yes. No, let me stop that. I will have to figure this out. I have too many windows open, but that's cool. Let's see, is it this one? Let's see. Can you guys see my screen right now? Big House of Cool logo, or is that a different one?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. All right, I'll figure this out by the end of the presentation. So we're House of Cool. I got to give you a little backstory. I work for House of Cool, so I have to do the backstory thing. House of Cool, we've been around for about 18 years, since about 2004. We were founded by these two fellas here, Ricardo Curtis and Wes Louie. Ricardo is our creative leader at the studio. He's been a story artist and head of story and director for almost 30 years right now. He's worked on a lot of films. Some of the biggest ones were like The Iron Giant, The Incredibles, Ferdinand, Rio. We've worked on a whole bunch of things. So he's where we take our creative direction from. And Wes is our business leader. He's got a MBA or something from economics from Wilfrid Laurier. Done a lot of business stuff. It's kind of boring. I don't really understand it, but he handles a lot of the business stuff for us. So, which is good, because otherwise the studio probably wouldn't have survived this long. And what they did was Ricardo came back from LA after working on some of those films, and he decided he wanted to start a studio. But not just any studio. He wanted to start a storyboarding house, a pre-production house. And it was one of those things where they had a lot of ambition, but no knowledge on how to do it. So they started a studio, they rented a space. They did all this without having any contracts. And then they went to the big studios like Disney and Pixar and Warner Brothers and said, hey, you guys should let us work on your $1 million scripts. You know, we can do it. And obviously they were laughed out of every studio that they went to. But eventually something caught on. They were able to get some momentum going. And over the course of almost 20 years, we've worked on tons of projects. Hopefully some of these you guys know. Some of them are more recent. Some of them are a little bit older. Gravity Falls, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Troll Hunters is a big one as well. Mine, the 3 was especially fun to work on. And we also do a bunch of movies as well. Book of Life, Spies in Disguise, Ferdinand, the Peanuts movie, Ice Age, all that kind of stuff. So that's just the brief history of House of Cool. So hopefully anybody here who's interested in storyboards will want to talk to me afterwards when you guys are graduating. And anybody who is thinking about storyboards or hasn't thought about it, hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll want to be a storyboard artist. So who am I? My name is Ng. I'm the head of education, recruitment, and training. I started work in 1994, way back in the olden times. I started in Ottawa as well, and I've been a storyboard artist and a supervisor for 25 some odd years. And now I'm the head of education, recruitment, and training. So education is external to House of Cool. So we do presentations like this. We run storyboard workshops. We did an amazing program in France that I'll tell you about in just a minute. Recruitment is external and internal. So I look for the next superstars of story. And hopefully that's going to include you guys as well when you graduate. And then training, that's going to be internal to House of Cool. That's for story artists. So we keep constantly upskill artists while they're working at House of Cool. Storyboards is a difficult profession, and it's not something that you come out of school fully formed. You're going to need more training and projects to work on, and it's my job to help you with that. And for education, we did an amazing program this year. We did a 7-month full-time storyboard program in France. We partnered with Team Toe and the French government to create a program to take students who have no animation training and no animation school experience. So people like yourselves, when you were applying to Algonquin, we were looking at you guys to see if we could create a program specifically for storyboards to take you from 0 to 100 in 7 months. It was our first time doing that. It was great. I got to go to France for a few months during the pandemic, which was amazing because they didn't care about the pandemic at all. And it was a small town with great food and really amazing experience. And we had 16 students there. And we got to bring on about 4 of them to House of Cool after the graduation and work with them for a few months. And now they're all starting their career. So 7 months to train specifically in storyboards. And now they're all out there. Some of them are working, some of them are still looking, but it's been an amazing experience and something that we're probably going to want to do again. So I'm here to talk to you guys about storyboards. And like I said, we'll go through some items here, but if you guys have questions, just feel free to unmute, hit me up, and we'll talk about them quickly. What else we got going here? All right, so why do people come to House of Cool? It's for our ring of power, right? Storyboards. It's what we love to do. It's our primary function. And we do storyboards, editorial, and design, but storyboards is the #1 thing that we talk about. We love talking story. It's one of those things where we always say, we don't know how much we can talk about story, and then all of a sudden the conversation lasts for like 3 hours. And then we don't know what's happened in that time frame. Is there a show of hands? Is anybody here interested in becoming a story artist? A few? Cool, cool, cool. That's great. Well, you guys have some great teachers at Algonquin, and they're gonna teach you guys all about the drawing and the visual language as well. I'm not going to talk about the drawing specifically. I'm going to talk more about some of the techniques and skills that you will need as a storyboard artist beyond just drawing. Now, drawing is important, but it's something that sort of falls to the wayside a little bit. You know, we always talk about drawing as you need to get to a certain level where your drawings aren't distracting, but after that, it's just your ideas that we're concerned about. Let's see. So, visual language. All right, let me stop sharing. Oh, yeah, let me stop sharing here. And this is a lot easier in person, but it's good to keep the Zoom ones going as well. Let me share my screen again. Cool. All right, so I'm using Storyboard Pro. Hopefully you guys know Storyboard Pro a little bit as well. Yeah, perfect. I love Storyboard Pro. Don't tell Toon Boom, otherwise they're gonna make me pay for it more through. I just get it through House of Cool. So Storyboard Pro is something I've been using for a long time. I actually don't know if I could storyboard without it anymore because I'm so used to it. But let's talk about the visual language skills that you're going to need as a story artist. Now, there's always going to be talk about rules of storyboards. We like to think of them as guidelines. There are no rules that we hold as absolute, because if you have a reason to break that rule, then go ahead. If that supports your story, then you have to go and do that. But these are good guidelines to understand so that you can work in a professional manner. These are some of the things that we definitely look for story artists, to show that they have a fundamental knowledge of storyboarding, and then we build off from there. Let me just bring up something here. Okay. So first one, easy, screen direction. Okay. You guys probably heard this one. This is a very simple one. Maintain the characters or objects screen direction between scenes. And if you want to change the direction, you need to show it. Okay. So very simply, let me gotta move some stuff on my screen around. Let's go, let's find a brush. Can everybody see the drawings?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so screen direction, this is very simple. You got, let's say you got somebody just walking down the street. Do, 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 do. And he's going left to right. Very simple. In the next shot, if say you change it so that the person is now moving in a different direction. Now, these drawings are terrible, but I'm not going to apologize for it because there's no apologizing in storyboards. And now if the character is, if you cut between these shots, so the character is going left to right, and now he's going right to left, you're breaking the suspension of belief now for the audience. So that's a pretty simple one, right? Everybody knows this. Let me just scroll down to my notes so I keep it going. So keeping screen direction is one of the small things that a storyboard artist is asked to do to maintain the suspension of disbelief, right? So we're working with cartoon characters. They're not real. As an audience, you know these characters aren't real, but we are trying to create a world that feels real and feels authentic. And anytime you give an audience a reason to be confused or ask a question or say, what just happened there? You're taking them out of the story. You're taking them out of the film, and it's hard for them to come back in because now they're questioning the reality of the project. So screen direction is one of the good ways to maintain the suspension of disbelief. The exception to screen direction, changing things up and mixing them up, is when you're doing a montage. A montage is where time is distorted for storytelling purposes, and showing characters move in different screen directions help the montage effect. So if you're going to do screen direction, let me bring up some other things. I just have some other things on my other screen to help me with these presentations. So let's create a new panel. So let's say you have, let's just zoom in a little bit. So say you have your character, he's running down the street like this, right? And then he's got a couple of people chasing him. Rah. This is what my thumbnails look like. Really bad, but they're fine. Nobody but you guys get to see my thumbnails. So we have a character, it's moving this direction. Works great. Now, whenever you're creating subsequent scenes, you want to maintain that screen direction. And you have a certain window, certain amount of maneuverability within your frame to do that. And it sort of starts right about halfway. So anything up to this halfway point, you can keep the character moving and it'll be okay. But once you come onto this side of the frame, you're changing your screen direction. So you just have to watch that. So let's undo. So let's say I've done this. And now I want my character still running from these bad guys. Let's zoom in a little bit. He's all afraid. Whoa, no. And we still got these 3 bad guys behind him. Let's see, our perspective is probably about there. So let's do a little coffee shop beside him. Okay, so the character is still moving left to right, and he hasn't broken this invisible line down the middle. So I'm still maintaining good screen direction here. What else we got? So then we get into a little bit closer. Let's say he is running this way. Still moving in the left to right direction. Now, if we want to change his direction, it's very simple, but what we do have to make sure is that we show the change of direction here. We can't just cut to another scene and he's going a different direction. So let's, oops. Oh, sometimes it screws up when I have to change shots. There we go. Everybody's Storyboard Pro has a problem, and everybody's problem is a little different. Mine is sometimes I switch between tools and it doesn't switch back. So let's say the character then hits a giant light post. So he's still going in that direction, which is great. Let's just shrink this down a little bit. pull out a little wide so we can see what he's hit, which is just a big telephone pole. He's gonna wobble around a little bit. And let's say we still have these three guys here. And since I don't want to spend too much time drawing everybody, I'm just going to copy and paste and put them down there. Looks great. And then I will show him going in the other direction. Once again, let's take some previous shots here. Let's not waste our time doing a lot of unnecessary drawings. Our job is to be fast and figure that out. So now I have the character moving in this direction, right to left. So that's just a nice, easy example of screen direction and some of the things that we have to be very specific about as story artists, because we are telling a visual story and we have to be specific about what we are showing so that the audience believes this and doesn't question the reality of the show. That's a pretty simple one. Does anybody have any questions about that one? No, right? You guys already, I'm sure Neil's already taught you guys all about this, and it's gonna easy one. So let's get this one away. All right. The next one, the next visual language skill we want to talk about is screen position. Okay. So when cutting between scenes, keep the main character or object in roughly the same screen position so the audience doesn't have to try to find them again. Let's do an example here. Let me open up. So let's get a big dot here. I call it finding the dot. So let's create that one there. So let's go back. So let's imagine that this dot is your main character in your show, in the scene. And you have them up there in the top right doing something. I don't know what it is, but they're doing something. So, and then you cut to the next shot. We've decided we need a new scene, and we cut. And now the character is down on the bottom left. You, as the audience, now have to search for that character that you are watching. You're looking at the top right of the screen, and then you cut, and now he's on the bottom left. So as an audience, you now have to look down. And that's not that big a deal on TV or even on your computer monitors. But when you're talking about movie screens, this is a big deal. Movie screens are huge, and we're moving our head around the whole time trying to follow the action. So I've gone top right, I've gone bottom left. Now I'm going a little bit higher to the top of the screen, and then down to the bottom. If your character is moving around through all the scenes and you haven't provided a reason or the information for that, the audience is now, their neck is going to hurt. And if you're trying to do this for 2 hours, they're going to be exhausted by the end of the film. So we want to make sure that we maintain screen position for the characters to help the audience watch the movie, just make it easy for them. Let me show you an example. Oh yeah, we got that there. Okay, so let us see. All right. Does anybody know the artist Norman LeMay? He does those Tuesday tips for storyboard artists. You haven't seen them? They're great. So I'm using a lot of his information. You should check him out. He's on Pinterest. Very helpful. So these ones here are very similar to what he's done. So let's say we have a character and he's just standing over here. He's doing whatever he's doing, very simple. In the next shot, we would probably want to see him over here in the same area of the screen. Just move it over just a tad. We get very finicky with our framing when you do storyboards. So say he's looking up over there. Same screen position. Now let's say we have him looking up in the sky. We want him really small. A good way to think about screen position as well is if you can maintain where the character's eyes or head is in the frame. Because that's where, as an audience, that's where we're looking. That's the number one thing the audience is always concerned about is the person's face. That's, as a human being, we want to see their expression and what they're thinking. So he's doing that. Let's say, even if you have, oops, really big upshot. Now let's put a cape on him. So now we have this really big upshot, but still maintaining screen direction, screen position. So just imagine these four scenes are playing and they have multiple panels in each of them. He's talking, he's doing something, and you're cutting between shots. As an audience, you don't have to then find him in the next shot. So you're able to concentrate on what the character is saying or doing. And that's what you want for the audience to do. Not to try to watch the film, but to try to watch the story. And you can do this also between it while the character is moving. So this is very simple. The character is not moving. So it's much easier to think about. But what if, we work in animation, so things are constantly moving. So we can do this also between scenes. So let's say the character is here. Let's zoom this in so I can draw this. Let's say he is looking up. So he wants to fly up. So let's say he flies up here. Oops. So he flies up in the air. Now we have the character sort of here. This is where we last saw him. So as an audience, that's the last place we're looking. Now it's difficult to do this because it's not perfect. Basically, in the next shot, we want to stay sort of in that area, right? So that the audience's eye don't have to dramatically move somewhere else in the frame. So what if we did something? We just put the character say here. Move it around a little bit. But here is not too bad, right? So our last place that the audience was looking was just about here. And now we're just bringing them down just a little bit to here. That's not bad. And then we can use the camera to adjust as we're flying around. And get the character doing kind of what we want him to do. So let's say the character, let's move that around. The character is right here. We can take the frame and use the camera. Got to remember to use the camera as a tool and just adjust. And maybe we can move the character as well. So what we've done, let's take another color, is we've just sort of moved the camera a little bit. But it's good here because the audience hasn't had to dramatically change their eye direction to follow the character. And if you guys are like anybody, all our story artists that I know, they want to do action adventure. We want to do big fight scenes between Superman and Batman and whoever. We're going to have a lot of moving pieces. And we have to make sure that the audience can follow it because it's going to be happening really, really fast. Your scenes might be on the screen for half a second. You know, he just flies up. That's less than a second, even though it could be that long. So things are moving very fast, and we have to make it easy for the audience to follow what's going on. And if you have good screen direction and good screen position, you're helping the audience. Here's another one. Let's do another example. I always like to show something that's okay and then something that's better. So let's say we have let's say we've just got Superman. He's flying around. I don't like this pen anymore. It's too big. So he's flying around. So he's flying around and say he sees something down here. Okay, so our next shot, very simply, is we want him to fly down. Just like what we did before. So he flies down. Now, this isn't something that is a rule or, you know, something to adhere to, but if you do the next shot, he flies down and you say, okay, let's say have him fly down here. And he's going down to the ground or wherever he is. That is correct. This makes sense. Everybody understands it. But we're changed the eye direction of the audience a lot here. So this was the last place we looked, and now we're looking in this area the next time we cut. So let's try to maintain the screen direction a little bit more. So let's go from this panel here and have the character fly down in this direction. So what we can do is I'm going to have the character come down here. Don't like that color. He'll come down here and he'll do a big loop-de-loop to get to the ground. And I can use the camera to help this point as well. Sage. Oh, I'm gonna go down. So using the camera to help with this motion. Now, this is fine. This is correct, this panel here. But this one, I like to say, is more correct. And it has a better path of action between scenes. So whereas this scene here, he flies down, and this one comes down, straight lines. But if we change it so that he flies down here and then flies down here, what we've done is we've created a nice motion between scenes and maintained it. So he's flying down into a nice little circle. That will be a little smoother for the audience to watch and understand. So both are correct, but one is better. And that's what you're always trying to strive for, is to make your storytelling better. And we'll talk a little bit about what's good and what's better. So screen positioning, that's a good one to know. Any questions about that one? No. Pretty simple, right?
I have a question.
Yes. Oh, good. Let's do it.
So would you say for like, in terms of like screen position, it's like screen direction where you should show if you're doing a dramatic change of position, like with the spiral? Is that like kind of
Yes.
like, I know there's no rules, but is that like a good concept to think of?
Yes, yes, we always have to show the audience what we're trying to do,
Okay.
so that they understand it better. One of the things that people talk about is that as a human, as a human being, that we recognize humans on a screen, like live action films, instantly. But it takes an extra second or two for us to recognize cartoon characters, just because we know they're fake. So exactly what you said, if you can maintain this type of action, then it's better for everybody.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, perfect. Those two concepts took me quite a while to figure out when I was first learning how to storyboard, just because maybe you guys have similar experience, but I grew up reading comic books and watching live action movies, obviously. But comic books is a different type of storytelling than animation. And the rules that I had learned in comic book drawing are not exactly the same in storyboards, and it really screwed me up. Okay, let's go to the next one. So screen direction, screen position. The next big one is blank. There's nothing. Here we go. Motivate the cut. All right, make the audience want to see what's next. This is one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest. Let me bring up my notes so I have the proper example. Does anybody know what I'm talking about when I say motivate the cut? No? Okay, good. Neil, what are you teaching at school here? I don't understand. Okay, I'm just kidding. Motivate the cut.
They're self-taught learners.
They're self-taught? Awesome. That's great. That's the best way. Motivate the cut, make the audience want to see what's next. So one of the things we like to talk about is that in animation specifically, animation storytelling, is that you don't want to cut unless you have a reason, unless the audience is begging you to cut to the next shot. Why am I cutting? Otherwise, I would just stay in the same frame, or I would just use the camera to adjust what I'm talking about, because the camera can move. So if I don't need to cut, why am I cutting? So you have to have a reason to cut, motivate it. So let's, and you can do that in a couple of different ways, lots of different ways, with overlapping action. So dialogue between scenes. So if somebody starts talking and you want to cut in, the audience wants to see who's talking, you would cut in closer. That is a way to motivate the cut. Here's another one. Audio is great as well. So let's say I have this character and he's rummaging through an old chest in the attic. Just like we all do, right? I want to see what's up there. So he's rummaging. Let's say we just have this. And then, like a classic horror film, you hear a creak on the outside the screen. Now he has no choice but to look over and see what's going on. Oh, my tools. Yes. Sometimes I'm moving too fast for my computer. If I'm moving too fast for you, please let me know and I'll slow down a little bit. That was the one thing I got to learn in France, is to speak a little bit slower so that they could understand me, because I don't speak French. So here we go. So the character has heard a sound off screen. Now he looks over. Now, as an audience, we want to know where that sound came from. What gave that sound and what is the character looking at? So we could do something, many different ideas here. We could do a POV of what the character is looking at, or we could, let's do something like this, where let's do, this is why I love storyboarding in Toon Boom, because I can just make things happen fast. So we cut to his outside the door, and we see, now we're looking at him through the door. That sort of tells the audience something is happening outside, and we want it, something creepy is about to happen. And then we could finish off the scene with, say, somebody comes in with a lantern, and he's been found out. But the audio that we're playing here motivates the cut. It makes us want to see what's happening. Why? That's the reason why we're cutting. Now we could do multiple things. We could do a zip pan, a swish. We could turn the camera around very quickly. We could do a POV, but the camera is moving because the audience needs to see what's next. Let's do another one, a very simple one as well. Let's say, okay, I got a lot of human characters. Let's try an animal character. All right, so we got a dog here. Let's put in a little bit of background. It's just a little bush beside him. Maybe he's in a forest or a park. Always think about where your character is and what they're doing. So let's say the character is there. And then character has seen something. So instantly, as the audience, we want to know what this character has seen. So the obvious answer is to just cut to the next shot. And I'm going to say that's a female dog, but doesn't look very good. You know, that's fine. So let's say there's a tree here. Little fence. And we would then do a massive truck in. As well. So we're motivating the cut. The character has seen something, reacted to it, and then we, as the audience, want to know what he's looking at. So we cut, show what he's looking at, and we can add another camera move here as well, like a truck in. If you get even really, really close as well, that would be probably smarter. Oops. Let's get in real close. And then we would just have a female dog there. So motivating the cut, really, really important for a story artist. We are telling stories with dozens of scenes, and we have to have a reason to cut between scenes. Otherwise, we can just keep going and on forever and ever and just create new scenes whenever we want, but we don't have that luxury. We do have a limit to the number of scenes that we can work on based on time of the movie or the show. So always look to have a reason to cut between scenes. Let's see. Okay. All right. All right, we're going through this good. Perfect. Here's a big one. The eyes have it. Spend time on the face and specifically the eyes. This is where the audience looks. As human beings, we instantly zone in to what the character's face and expression. Now, I've seen this a lot. This is my pet peeve in storyboards. Is unfortunately it's anime, and not anime as a storytelling. Yes, I'm sorry. I know some of you are going to be really offended. It's going to take a while for you guys to reset, but anime has terrible, terrible eyes, and we see them all the time now. So their eyes are like a line up here, squiggle, and this. This is not a good set of eyes. Sometimes they are even worse than it's just a line up here and dots. And then if you have a character like Charlie Brown, it's just dots. These are not good. Stay away from that when humanly possible. Unless the character is designed that way, you're going to have to draw the eyes. So let's do it. Let me bring up some eye examples here so that I can work on it. This is the most important place that characters are looking, or sorry, that the audience is looking. So because we want to see character and expression. So let's try a little, let's do some faces. You know, we don't have to be illustrators. This is fine. We do have to show what's going on. So here's a little trick that helps me out as well with the eyes, is draw the eyeballs first and not the eyebrows. I find if I draw the eyebrows first, I sort of get locked into a box. So let's say characters in here. Let's see that character's expression. We might need to even soften the underside of the eye as well. Oops. Now let's take this exact same drawing and do it with different eyes. I'm just going to pause there for a little bit and see if people recognize the difference. There's a huge difference here. So we want to understand the character's expression and emotional state at all times. And as storyboard artists, we have to show that to the animators. They need to know what to do, and we are trying to give them that information. So draw the eyes. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't even have to be closed circles. Different eye shapes are cool as well. Even in profile. If you spend the time at the top of the eyeball, it's almost like an eyelid. But if you're just hacking it out like a machete, it has less impact. So I think one of the things that I hear a lot is that the drawings don't necessarily matter in storyboards. Has anybody heard that before? That the drawings aren't important. And it's true to a degree, but your drawings have to be at a certain level. So we need you to be fast as artists, but not rushed. There's a distinction here. If you're going to spend time on a character, let's just do this character here. Let's just do another Superman character because I like Superman stuff. Make sure to draw the feet. I hate drawing feet, but you got to draw feet. So let's say we have to do a lot of drawings in a day. So here's always an interesting question. How many drawings are you guys doing in a day? Probably about 5 or 10, 12, maybe. As a story artist, we got to do upwards of 50 to 100 in a day. So we got to be fast. But some people think of that as fast for the entire drawing. Now, that is not exactly true. If we're going to spend, let's say, 5 minutes drawing this character, it doesn't mean that the entire character has to be drawn in 5 minutes. Super fast. What it means to me is that if I have 5 minutes, I'm going to spend over 50% of that time, maybe even 75% of that time in the face. And the rest of the body would be like 25%. Whatever that number is for you, it's not important. The important part is to realize that not everything is equal when you're drawing characters. The body can be a little bit looser That's fine. I understand what's going on here in the body, and I've just drawn it really fast, but I've spent the time on the character's face because I need to understand what the character is doing and feeling at this time. So spend the time where it's important. You have to prioritize things, and the face is the #1 priority. This is really important. I hope you guys follow this one. Spend the time in the face and the eyes so that your characters feel alive when you're drawing them. So let's say we have another character here. Let's just say it's a dog or whatever this is. Maybe it's a little sprite. Or a big smile. Let's do a big smile. The eyebrows, don't like them. Spend the time where it's necessary. Now, if I had drawn those, let's just take it here. Oops. And we did it very quickly. It loses personality. One is not equal to the other. Now, this is for your roughs and cleans. As a thumbnail, you can definitely do little dot eyes. Nobody cares. You got to move fast when you're doing your thumbnails. But when you're getting into roughs and cleans, now we got to start seeing character personality and expression and their emotional state throughout. So you really need to show that to the director and to the audience in particular. And also, I have a pet peeve. Disney has caused me some problems. Everybody's cross-eyed in Disney films, or at least everyone's drawing characters cross-eyed in their films, right? I think we've all seen this. So the character's here, and let's get a bigger brush. And then one eyeball is here, and the other one's here. And it looks really cute. And we do that all the time as well. The problem is when you are trying to show a character look at something, say they are looking this way, and you still do the same thing. That is incorrect. This eyeball should be here. Make sure they are looking where they are supposed to be looking. It's a small thing, but also a big thing. And this also kind of ties back into screen position, because screen position also means something about between scenes where characters are looking. Let's get rid of that. Here's some high level stuff right here. So I have a character. He is here. He is looking, let's say he's looking this way. In the next scene, as an audience, I am expecting something here. Even though the character is in a completely different location and scene, because I'm the audience, I'm seeing where they're looking. I expect in the next shot to see that thing in that roughly that same area. So as an audience, I'm looking at two things. I'm looking here because I want to see the character, what they're thinking, what they're doing. But I also understand that they're looking at something off screen and they're looking roughly this area. So the next shot, I sort of want to see something in that area. He's still maintaining eye direction through scenes. So we cut. This is the next shot. Everything still lines up. Let's actually make this guy a little bit smaller because it's more of a jump cut if I do it that way. Boom. That will help your storytelling, your visual storytelling a lot. And that's the business we're in, visual storytelling. The script is the script, it's the story. We have to put the visuals onto the screen and make it easy for the audience to follow. This one took a long time for me to figure out. Oops. Okay. Let's next one. Anybody have any questions about drawing the eyes and the screen direction or motivating the cut right now?
I think those are great tips. Those are awesome.
Cool. High level storytelling, not drawings, right? The drawings suck, but it's all about the ideas here. The next one we got is the camera is a storytelling tool. Now I don't really have any drawing examples for this, so let me stop sharing for a second here. So the camera as a storytelling tool. This is something that takes a long time to start figuring out as an artist. And the reason is because we're working on our skills as artists at the time, and it's hard to think outside of just what's in that frame. But the sooner you understand that the camera is another storytelling tool, the sooner you will become an actual storyboard artist. Now, you can be a storyboard artist and draw the scenes and draw the panels and tell a story, and that's fine. But once you start using the camera to help you tell that story, you are at that next level. That is something that directors are always asking for, is to use the camera as a storytelling tool, whether that's in a big tense moment where somebody's like, you know, I know who did it. And you zoom in on the character. It's like, you did it, right? That becomes a storytelling tool. You've used it. Or whipping the camera around. I mean, there's so many options to do, but understanding that the camera is the invisible tool that you need to master in order to become a storyboard artist is vital to doing this. It's too hard to show many examples. There's a lot of things that we could look at. There's lots of great films. I'd say study the Disney and Pixar films and any of the really great animation films and how they use the camera to keep the story moving and tell the story that they need to tell. I love live action just like everybody else, but we're in the animation field. So we have to learn animation storytelling. And live action storyboard artists and animation storyboard artists are not interchangeable. Usually a live action board artist cannot work in animation, and animation board artists have a problem moving over to live actions because there's different requirements for each field or each medium. And we have to be aware of the requirements for us. And one of the requirements is understanding how to use the camera to tell a story. And I think I'll just touch on one of the things about using the camera as a storytelling tool. I'm sure everyone's heard of the 180-degree rule. Don't break the 180-degree rule. That was probably Yeah, everyone knows that one. You can break it anytime you want, as long as you have a reason. It's all about reasons. So if you can't justify why you did it, then you've broken it for no reason, and then it's wrong. But if you have a reason to break it and the director agrees with you and it's used as storytelling technique, then that's fine. So breaking the 180 rule is generally when you want the audience to feel a sense of shock or surprise. And if that's what you're going for, break the 180 and you've accomplished what you're looking to do. There's another way, say one of the classic examples is a character standing in front of a mirror. The camera then spins around to see the actual person. That's breaking the 180, but that's totally justified and easily readable by the audience. So understand the 180 rule as for the camera, that's great, but know that you can break those rules. And same with everything else we've just talked about with screen direction, screen positioning. You can break those, but you have to have a reason. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about for visual language, and it's not really completely visual language, but what I want to say is that you guys have to learn, and I hate saying you have to. I'm one of those people who say that you should never say you have to, but this is one thing I believe you have to know. And if there's one thing that you should take out from this presentation that I'm doing right now, is this. You have to learn to draw fearlessly. It's a huge, huge thing that you need to do. We have to draw hundreds of panels for our job. Our work spans dozens of scenes, and they will only have an impact when they all work together. So that's a ton of drawings. Like I said, I'm doing about 50 drawings a day. That takes a long time. You have to really manage that down and do the math. How long does a scene or a panel take you? And then multiply that through the day. I'm going to assume some of you, I don't know what year everyone here is in, but I'm going to assume some of you consider yourselves perfectionists when you are doing your drawings. Does anybody feel that way? Maybe a show of hands a little bit, smiles a little bit. No? Yeah, a couple of thumbs up. And it's tough, right? Because we all got into school based on our portfolios, and we were drawing as elementary school artists and high school artists. And we basically were illustrators. We would spend a lot of time on a drawing, and then we show it to the world, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's amazing," and we feel good. So it's part of our personality. It's core to our being, drawing. But we have to draw now in animation, and especially for story artists, we have to draw in a different way. We have to be fearless in our drawing because we have to do so many in the day that we cannot get hung up on one drawing. We're going to do hundreds of drawings a month. If you're working in TV storyboards, and Neil, hopefully you can back me up on this, you got to do about 800 storyboard panels a month to do an 11-minute show. So 800 panels in a month times 12 months, that's 10,000 drawings. So you can do that in 1 year. So learn to draw fearlessly. And by that, I mean, you have to understand your anatomy. You have to understand perspective, staging and composition, everything. You have to understand everything. That's tough, but you have to learn to draw all of that quickly so that you can get your ideas down on the page fast, because part of our job is to come up with ideas. And if you're being slowed down by your physical drawing, you have less time to come up with ideas and less time to come up with good ideas. So one of the best ways to think about this is when you're doing life drawing and you're working on those 10-second poses, those 30-second poses. That's how fast we need you to draw. The great 5-minute pose, the 10-minute pose, those are great as observational studies, but we need to draw fast, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute maybe, and draw fearlessly. So even what we were just doing right now, where I was drawing and you were watching it, I have to be able to draw quickly and come up with ideas fast. And I have to have a lot of people look at it at the same time. and that's scary. So you got to draw fearlessly, be comfortable being uncomfortable. I don't particularly like drawing while everybody's looking at me and I'm doing an ugly drawing, but that's part of the job. We have to live there, and we have to sort of understand that and be comfortable being uncomfortable. You might have a really cool idea. Let's talk about this a little bit. So you might have this really great idea. You might have a great idea if, say, you're working on Street Fighter or something, and where the camera is spinning around the character, and then it does a truck out super fast with the character trailing after it, and then it catches up to him, and he does a turn, he does a fierce Hadouken, and then the camera chases with the fireball going after the villain, and it hits the villain, and the film's like, oh my God, and then it blows up. And you're like, that's a kick-ass scene. That's what I want to do. And then you say, holy crap, that's going to be a heck of a lot of drawings. Maybe I can just do something else. Maybe I can just change it a little bit so that I don't have to do all those drawings. That is a bad situation. You don't want to be there. You want your ideas to be on the page so that directors and other story artists look at it and go, holy crap, that's amazing. That's what I want to see. When we're looking at, has anybody seen the Cora boards on YouTube or online, or the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle boards? Those things are crazy. Those are ridiculous. That is high level storytelling. But the one thing that they have in common is that those people are not afraid to draw. So you have to start getting to that level. It's going to take a while. You guys are still in school. It's going to take a while. It takes time to build up these skills. That's not a problem. But look to do that. Look to have more focused practice while you're drawing. And by that, I mean less Instagram pictures. So Instagram is usually like a character design and the person's just standing there and there's no background. You got to start thinking in story mode. So if you're going to draw a character standing, put that character standing in a room. If you're going to have a character sitting down, put that character sitting down at a table with 6 other people. If you're going to show a big punch, Superman's going to punch somebody, pow, or there's a big boxing fight, put that character in a warehouse with a crowd watching them. Think about your ideas and how you can expand on them. And then the last point there, to start drawing fearlessly, is also to get into the zone and stay there. I think we all understand what the zone is, right? We're all artists. We get into the zone, we want to stay there, and sometimes 5 hours has gone by, sometimes 10 hours has gone by, and you realize, wow, I haven't gone to the bathroom in 10 hours. This is a problem. I should probably go to the bathroom. Or I haven't eaten anything in 10 hours. I am really hungry, So we understand what the zone is, and the zone is also some place that, as storyboard artists, we have to get there, and we have to stay there. We have to understand where we are in the work day, our work habits, where we are creatively during the day. Has anybody thought about that while you're working on your projects at school? So I'll say for me, I'm more creative in the morning and at night. So I structure my days to take advantage of that. So in the morning, I do my thumbnails. In the afternoon, I do some roughs. I do more of the drawings that are a little bit easier to do. And then in the evening, I'm still doing my thumbnails where I'm coming up with ideas. So I make sure that I plan my workday to take advantage of my creative moments. And then at those times when I'm trying to be creative, I got to get into the zone and I got to stay there. So crazy question, second monitors. Everyone's got a second monitor. How many times when you're working, do you have a movie playing while you're working?
All the time.
All the time. Everybody. I do it. You do it. I know everybody in this room does it. That's fine. Okay?
I don't do it.
Yes.
I
Someone's
don't.
lying.
That's
There's
Neil.
liar.
I don't do it. I can't do it.
Neil, this is
Can't.
because you're old school. You
Yeah, I
didn't have
know.
second monitors back then.
I only have one monitor.
Only one monitor, and it was a big CRT thing that weighed 500 pounds. So you got to have that monitor. You got to turn off that movie. Music is good too, but you got to understand that any outside stimulus that you're working around is influencing your work. It's also influencing your emotional state at the time. So if you're working on a big action scene, you probably don't want to be listening to really slow classical music or jazz music, because then you're not in the emotional state to work on an action scene. You have to match the music to your work. But for the people who have second monitors, like everybody here, and we watch movies while we're working, you have to work up the discipline to stop that. This is going to be a huge obstacle for you. So also, here's another quick question. How many people have a movie going on right now? No? I probably think at least one person does.
Is video game music a lot counts? Like...
No, video game music is fine as long as it's matching the type of work that you're working on.
Is the video game on at the same time?
Oh.
Yeah, it is right now. It's like the fountain from Zelda on repeat.
Are you playing it?
Not right now because I'm speaking with you.
Oh, but before, just a little bit on the
Yes.
side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it's still distracting you. This is very common in animation. Lots of people do it. Lots of professionals do it. It's not good. Everybody understands. Well, I'll qualify that. Not everybody understands that it's bad for them. So what you're actively doing, you're actively trying to sabotage your work. You're actively trying to distract yourself and get you out of the zone. Now, we have all done that thing where we watch a movie and we're working, and then all of a sudden we look at the movie and go, oh, what the hell happened? I missed that whole part. That's the zone. That's where you want to be. So you don't want to have the movie on because it's actively trying to distract you. And if it's even worse for myself because I'm doing YouTube and those videos are only 10 minutes long. So I'm constantly going back and forth. So I go to work, I go to the studio to work because I can concentrate more. But if you have movies or video games or anything else that is distracting you while working, one of the things you have to ask yourself very seriously, and especially while you're in school, is, do you want to watch movies or do you want to make movies? That's the question you have to ask yourself. So that's the question I had to ask myself when I want to get in the zone. I'm like, oh, I could just put on this movie. I've seen it a dozen times. I'm not really watching it. I just want to hear it, some background noise, but I'm actively sabotaging myself. So I can get the work done. That's not a problem. I've conditioned myself to get the work done, even if I had a movie on, but the work could be better. My ideas could be better if I wasn't actively trying to sabotage myself. So you all have to work on this, just like everybody in the industry has to work on this. What I would suggest is starting to do it in smaller blocks. Get into the zone, stay in the zone in almost complete silence for 1 hour, and then take a break. You know, it's hard to maintain that kind of level of concentration for a long time, but build yourself up to it. That's what discipline does. You build yourself slowly up to this. So while you're working on your films, this is going to be critical. Spend an hour in the zone, no distractions. See what your ideas look like when you are able to focus completely and be completely present while you're working. Be completely present while you're working will be critical to your success in the industry. And anybody who's asking, what about this? What about this? What about a podcast? What about this? You already know the answer. The answer is obvious because you're asking the question. You already know that it's probably not great. So find your work habits. Find out when you're creative. And when you know you're creative, get into the zone, turn everything off, and just be present at your work and learn to draw fearlessly. That'll be your biggest obstacle starting in the industry. So it's a good time to start thinking about it now while you're in college. and build up those good work habits. There's probably only about a few people I've ever known who work in complete silence, but those people do the best work. Any questions about anything I've talked about here?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for people who are really creative at like late night time?
Yes. Change yourself a little bit.
Okay.
The reason I was the same. As an artist, sometimes I'd be working until 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And unfortunately, I found, at least for myself, the reason why I'm more creative late at night is because there's nothing left to do. There's no more parties to go to. There's nobody else to talk to. There's nobody else to text. There's no more movies I want to watch. Then I'm like, oh, I might as well work. And it's quiet, right? Then I'm like, oh, yeah, this is why I'm so creative at this time. It's because all the distractions have been removed. You have to find a way to do that during the day. It's very difficult because we all have friends. We want to go out. We want to do things. We want to watch movies. We want to read books. We want to draw, whatever. We want to do something other than work. And then at late at night, it becomes the part where you think to yourself, well, I don't have anything else to do. I might as well work. Oh, now I'm like, oh, I'm really enjoying myself. This is great. And then you convince yourself that I can only work between 10 and 3 a.m. That is not true. Don't believe the hype. So learn to start trying to do this during the day. Even if you have your earphones on and there's nothing playing, at least you're blocking out some noise. Try that. I've done that. I've wanted to get those construction earphones where they block out all the music, all the sound, and just so I could be completely present. Even a baseball cap that has blinders on the side, like the horses, just something that makes me be completely present in my work. So yes, so for all of you who believe that you're more creative late at night, it's not true. Sorry.
Thanks, Drew.
Yeah. Noise canceling headphones. That's cool. I should try that. All right. Okay. Other questions? Because otherwise, I want to take a little break before we move on to the next part of this discussion. But I'm more than happy to answer more questions.
I miss the
Static
days
ambience.
of CDs when they would run out and you wouldn't even know when they finished and you would be working in that silence.
Yes. Exactly. It's exactly what we're talking about here. Being in the zone is the best part. That's where we all become our best artist.
Earlier, you mentioned growing up on comics and how like storytelling from comics is different than in animation.
Yep.
Do you think there's any experience from comics that applies to storyboarding, or it's like completely different?
No, there's lots that apply to from comic books to storyboards. It's one of the reasons why I was able to get into storyboards, because they saw my comic book drawings and said, oh yeah, you should be able to do this. What happens is, if you're working on, say, Korra or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they want people who have a love of comic books, because that's sort of the sensibility that they're looking for. What I'm talking about for storytelling is that the comic book page is much different than the animation screen. So the comic book page is 11 by 17, and you have to go left to right, down, left to right, down. So you're doing a zigzag through the page, and you're changing your screen direction all the time. It doesn't really matter on the comic book page, but you're trying to direct the audience's eye to get to the next panel and read that way. So unfortunately, that is created a lot of bad habits for me, where I thought I could just do whatever I wanted to do and the audience would figure it out. But that is not true. So as an animation director, and they would say, this is wrong, and I wouldn't understand why, right? That was the big problem. They would say, you have to do it this way. And I would say, I don't understand why, because I was always taught comic book storytelling where you could just do whatever you wanted to do. Even if the perspective didn't work, or the shot didn't work, or the staging and composition didn't work, I would say, well, it looks cool. And they go, yeah, it looks cool, but it's wrong. And I'm like, took a long time to kind of beat that in my head. But as a comic book artist, you have an advantage because you can draw superhuman anatomy a lot better than people who like preschool shows. Not that there's anything wrong with preschool shows, but sometimes a project is looking specifically for people who can draw comic book style. And if you can do that, that's great. I was able to do a lot of action adventure boards, and I love that. But I also like preschool shows. There's another type of visual storytelling that is unique to both action and preschool. And if you can understand those rules, then you will work forever. And that's what you want, right? You guys want to work forever. You guys want to have careers that go 40 years. You want to be a grizzled veteran. And then you're like, I hate this job. Yeah, give me more. I want to draw more. And then some of you will become directors and head of story and supervisors, and you'll be telling this to people as well. Some of you will become teachers like Neil, who's been in the industry for a long time and then wants to pay it forward. Someone like myself, who's been doing it for 25 years, and now I've moved on to the next stage of my career about teaching storyboards loosely, starting to get into it. So that's a great question about comic books. It's hard to understand that one a little bit.
Thank you.
What's interesting sometimes is those shows that were developed as comic books, and then they end up as TV shows. And then that can be really hard to get across that feeling and everything too. Yeah,
absolutely. I guess Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is probably one of the best examples of that, because that was a comic book for so long, and now it's been in movies, it's been an animated series for so long. But the comic book artist who worked on the comic books could not be a storyboard artist without a lot of training. Working on a comic that becomes a show would be a dream. That's a lot of people's dream in animation. Yeah, I know a lot of people who are still working on their comic books at night. It's very tough. I wanted to do that as well. I was doing that, but I could not find the energy or the time to make it happen, which is not to say that one of the things that people are asking me is that they feel lazy if they're not able to work on their own projects at night or after school or after work. It's not that you're lazy. Nobody here is lazy. I don't believe that at all. It's just that, unfortunately, those other people are exceptional. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm a lazy person because I can't work 20 hours a day or I don't have that energy. So just as a friendly advice, don't think of yourself that way. If you're not able to do it, always keep striving for it. You guys are young. You guys have that ability and that energy to do it. Keep going until at some point, myself in my 40s, where I said, yep, I think I'm going to give that one up. That one's not going to happen for me. But I tried for like 25 years. Got to keep trying.
I'm still hoping to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30. I'm not giving up that dream.
You have a time machine going on here, or what's
maybe 2 30s or 3 30s. I don't know.
Okay. Well, if
830.
If you came up with a time machine, you would definitely have $1 million.
Well, maybe that's the angle I got to go with. I don't know.
Yeah.
Still working on it. I'm just not giving up.
Good. Never give up. Why? We got into animation because we're ambitious people.
That's right.
Not because we're 9-to-5ers or we want to be account managers. We have ambition, and that has to be there in everything that we do. I
got into it for the chicks.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was not a good idea.
No. Also, I don't know how many students here know, but when Neil got in, Neil, when did you enter the industry?
I graduated in 84.
84. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were there during the cocaine years, unfortunately.
I never partook in that, but I saw lots of it. Yes.
Yes. Cocaine, drugs, and divorce. That was the big thing in the 80s and 90s. I'll say for us, so I came in the 90s as well. We have seen over the last 20 years, we've seen a huge diversity explosion in animation, which has been something that everybody's wanted for a long time. So I'll say at House of Cool, we probably hire a lot of our story artists and story revisionists are probably 75% women now. Whereas back in the early 2000s, it was completely opposite. It was all men. And so we've been really excited that animation and storyboards has opened up and that there's way more people coming into it and way more ideas. We're looking for unique voices and unique ideas. And that can't happen unless more diverse people come into the industry.
When I started teaching, which was 20 years ago, there were 2 girls in my 3rd year class. And now it's what is it, about a 70-30 split in favor of women, I think.
Yes, absolutely. That's great.
Which is, I always thought was pretty amazing, but
it's incredible. We're actually looking at that at House of Cool on, we've created something called a survey called the Family Plan. And it's really to sort of start investigating how we can help women in particular start families and juggle, not have to choose between a family and a career. Because storyboards is so all encompassing, especially early on in your career where you're working. I was sleeping in the studio. I was working 15+ hours a day. You can't do that and start a family. So we're looking, and especially at that time of your career where it's your prime career years are also your prime family years. So we're trying to figure out ways that we can make it so that women who are now joining the industry in record numbers don't have to choose between a career and a family, especially for storyboards, specifically for storyboards. So we don't have the answers yet, but we are looking at it.
That's pretty awesome.
Okay. Let's take a little break. Holy crap, that was like 1 hour and 20 minutes. I thought that was only going to be 40 minutes. But let's take a 10-minute break, and then let's get back here, and I'm going to do some storyboard examples for you guys, okay? Cool. 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
4:45.
Oh, 45. Your
Oh.
math's better than my math.
Well, my computer is also kind of wrong too, but 10 minutes from whatever your computer says.
Yes, that one.
All right. Perfect. See you soon. Say for, oh, good. This one's going to be recorded. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Okay, I'll stop. Sorry. You were starting. Okay, there. It's recorded.
We'll do it.
It's on.
Finances. Finances is great. I always try to figure out how to explain finances to people, especially artists, so that they understand it and take it a little bit more seriously, because artists are especially bad with money. But someone on YouTube TED Talks was talking about it, and it was great. And she said, we all have a relationship with money. We all need money to pay our rent, to pay for food, to do what we want to do in life. So we all have a relationship with money. We have to decide if that relationship is going to be good or if it's going to be bad. That's the decision you get to make. Not that you don't have a relationship with money, but if it's going to be good or if it's going to be bad. So that's a little outside of storyboards. All right, let's see. Everybody should be here. Let's do this. So let's talk about storyboard example. So we're here for storyboards. We've done some visual language. I want to show you some storyboards. Let's do this. We'll share my screen. Can everybody see this script page?
Yes.
Perfect. So this will be the example that we're going to use today. So I'm going to do a quick read through of this one. This is just something that we come up with based on a previous show that we used to work on. So at the beginning, interior Black Forge, dark market day. 2 trolls drag Wilson by the arms, dropping him at Gandalar's feet. Wilson, are you surprised to see me again? Gandalar circles the changeling. Wilson is skittish. Where's Bernadette? I need to know she's all right. Such compassion. You've spent so long pretending to be human. You think you are one. But beneath that skin, we are the same. You escaped my son's wrath, survived Gunthar's rampage, and now you pull the strings on the chosen one himself? You are clever. Wilson considers Gandalar's words, but then, clever enough not to align with a monster. You think I'm a monster, but I can have compassion too. A troll drags a terrified Bernadette into the pit. Let go of me, Bernadette! She breaks free from the troll and rushes Wilson, throwing her arms around him. He attempts to comfort her. It will be all right. You must do whatever he says. A troll appears with the staff of Darkan. He kneels, holding the staff aloft, and the purple gem glints even in the gloom of the room, mesmerizing Wilson. If you unlock the Darkan stone and liberate your elf queen, you will be rewarded. He promises not to hurt anyone in Atlantia. Save my son, Wilson, my son. She holds him close. Wilson stares at her strangely, hit with recognition. He then sadly strokes her face. There was a time when you called me David. He shoves her hard and fast. Bernadette falls to the rocky floor, the impact knocking a change mask from her face, revealing Ursa Major. Now, where is Bernadette Lewis? Cut, go to sequence 3. So this is a script that you would get working on a show, very standard. Let me go back here. So let's talk about this a little bit. So when we get a script, we've got to do a little bit of a breakdown. We have to figure out, gather all of our materials and find out, which characters are in the shot, or in the sequence, what props do we need, what the location is, all of that stuff. So let's see here. Oh, that wasn't it. Here we go. So we'll do a little breakdown. At the top there, I have in green, it's the where and the when. We're in the Black Forge Dark Market day. And in the yellow, I have the trolls. I have, these are the characters that are in the scene. So trolls, Wilson, Gandalar. It mentions a changeling, which after a little bit of detective work, I understand that that is Wilson. There's more trolls, and then Bernadette is shown as well. So we know these, we have to understand the trolls as well. How many trolls are in the room? They keep mentioning trolls. So do we have to do some math and figure out if it's the same troll or if it's one that is new to the scene? And then the props, we have the Staff of Darkan. It's got a purple gem in it. There's also the change mask. And then the newest character, Ursa Major. So we need to gather those materials so that we have everything that we need to do to complete the sequence. This is about 1.5 pages. This is normally what you would need to accomplish in about a day's worth of time. A day, day and a half, depending if you're working 5 days a week or 7 days a week.
Can I just cut in for a second? Because last week we had an acting coach come in.
Oh.
And she broke down like a script by asking a lot of questions, very similar. I thought it was great because it was something it was similar but different, because I would break it down very much like you, and she breaks it down the same way, trying to figure out who it is, where they are, what it is, all that kind of stuff. And I think that just what you're saying just reinforces all that. I just thought that was a good moment to say that.
That's great. Yeah, that's our job. We have to figure out what we're doing. We have to remember that the script will never be on the screen, that it's our job to put the visuals up there. And so we have to really understand what we're doing here. Let's see. Let me open up some other things here. Let me close that. Toon Boom, great. So you guys all know about the process for storyboards. Very simple. We got to break down the script. So we got to do our script breakdown, gather our materials, and then we got to start into our thumbnails. So thumbnails, you guys know what thumbnails are. It's your drawings that nobody else can understand. They're scribbles, they're gibberish, but that's okay because that's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be all of your ideas down on the page as fast as possible so that you can you're thinking of your ideas. Let me just bring up my stuff here. So we have the script. We understand that, what we need to accomplish. And then basically we just start, right? So you start with your ideas, thinking them as fast as possible. This is the part about drawing fearlessly so that you can get your ideas down fast. So let's say I'm going to have a nice down shot. And then I'm going to have Wilson being dragged in this way. And this is Gandalar, this is Wilson. So I have them coming in. Next shot, maybe I have Wilson. I'm going to change my brushes here. I have Wilson sort of slammed down to the ground by the two trolls. And then we just keep going, and then maybe we'll move the camera a little bit, and Gandalar will step in. We'll have Wilson look up. I want to say there is a small distinction for thumbnails that you do have to be aware of. That the thumbnails that you create for yourself are not thumbnails that you're going to show the director. And the reason is because we just said your thumbnails are gibberish. They only make sense to you, and they won't make sense to anybody else. So even though we are artists, we do have to try to make it more readable to the director. We'll say camera move. Maybe I'm going to do the cam. Then I'm going to have an upshot of Gandalar, looking all mean. So this is how fast you need to do your thumbnails. Just get them out. Don't worry about what they look like so much at this stage. Right now, you're just thinking about ideas. You're not thinking too much about composition. That is something you will work on when you get to a rough stage. So he's in the over the shoulder shots. You know, put in your dialogue numbers as well. Let's see, what do I have there? Line 30 is Wilson. Where's Bernadette? I need to know if she's all right. So I'll just put something like 30 here. I know that. So this must be 29. This could be 29 as well. So I'll have Gandalar start speaking in this panel, which will motivate the cut to this next scene as well. So I'm thinking about that a little bit as much as well, because that's important. That's part of my storytelling process. I'm going to go, let's see, I want to go back. Gandalar. He's going to say his he's going to start his big dialogue, and then he's going to move off screen. So I'm just giving myself the information that I need to understand what I'm trying to do. Perspective grid means I want this to be an upshot, very quick. So there. It says that Gandalar is circling Wilson. So let's see if I can have him do this. Let's do it fast. So I just say like that. Adjust camera. I'm going to assume this is 31. Oops. 31, 31. It's a lot of dialogue that I got to cover. Let's move him down here. I'm going to show. So at the end of this, I can also put numbers. So like 1, 2. So I know he's going to move that way. And then I have Gandalar walk past here. So again, 1, 2. So I'm just really trying to put down some ideas as fast as possible. And then I want to look at it again. Let's say, we'll continue on here. What do I got? What do I got? Yes. So I want to have Gandalar. Oh, I missed a part too. So Wilson's being all defiant now. You can turn. So let's say there's a door back here. So this is where Gandalar is saying, you think I'm a monster, but I can have compassion too. So let's say, yeah, this is 32, and this is 33. Let's say, we have a troll taking Bernadette out of the door. Door opens, and Bernadette is revealed. Maybe we'll cut back to Wilson again. Oops. Now he's got a different expression. He's like, whoa, Bernadette. And he runs off after her. Let's see, then we'll have the troll who's got Bernadette by the arm. She sees Wilson. Oh, that's a terrible arm, but whatever. She breaks free. Maybe have a little bit of a truck out while Burnett is running towards Wilson. And we'll finish on the troll. She exits. What's next? She exits. We're gonna have Bernadette and Wilson embrace in the middle of the screen. So she comes in here, he comes in there. They have a loving embrace. It's amazing. Always draw your characters in 3/4 poses, even the faces, especially for something like this where you would think that the character faces should be in profile, but draw them in 3/4. Let's say we have bright lights coming out here now. There's a bright light and they both look over. This one is 36. It will be all right. Oh, I missed something where she basically begs him to help her. So let's move this down. Let's copy that. You must do whatever he says. Blah, blah, blah. Let's say next, what do I want to do? I need to show a little bit of the room. I need to show the staff coming in. So let's do, say that this is Wilson and Bernadette, and Big Troll Gandalar is over here. And this is a troll walking in with the staff. I put a big arrow here saying I want this person to come in 3/4. And we'll start a little bit of the dialogue as well, 38. If you unlock the Dark Hand Stone and liberate your elf queen, you will be rewarded. That's pretty good. I'm gonna copy this again. Bernadette is gonna beg Wilson to help her. So what is that? 38. Let's just keep that going. 38. This is 39. He promises not to hurt anyone in Atlantia. Save my son, Wilson. Save my son. And then he doesn't buy it. He strokes her face. Then he pushes her off. You used to call me David. Let's go. Oops, okay. I need my thumbnail page here. And then they say he shoves her back. Bernadette falls to the rocky floor, the impact knocking a change mask from her face. So let's say Bernadette falls to the ground. Impact. Bright lights come around her. And then the change mask comes off. And we see it's Ursa Major. So we can say drops down. Very simple. And then we want to end the scene where Wilson screams at everybody. So like, where is Bernadette Lewis? You got the troll over here. Got Ursa Major on the ground. And the staff of Darkan with the other troll holding it. So that would be 41. And end. Okay. So that's a quick thumbnail pass of the story there. I've looked at the script. I've seen all the actions that they want to do, and I've done my best to satisfy that. Very fast. This one's fairly readable. These would be thumbnails for myself. These would generally be okay to that a director would be able to understand it, but you would want to go in there and pretty it up a little bit, you know, make it a little bit more appealing. And we are visual people. We want to see nice drawings as well. So let's say, so I've done that. Now let me show you this. So those are my thumbnails, and here's my pitch version for the director. Okay, let's let me get my script so I can follow along. So we start in the dark market with these pillars of fire in the middle, and Gandalar standing in the middle, and Wilson is dragged in by the trolls. It's being dragged in, slammed to the floor. The trolls exit. Wilson, are you surprised to see me again? Where's Bernadette? I need to know she's all right. Such compassion. You've spent so long pretending to be human. You think you are one. But beneath that skin, we are the same. You escaped my son's wrath, survived Gunthar's rampage, and now you pull the strings on the chosen one himself. You are clever. Clever enough not to align with a monster. You think I'm a monster? But I can have compassion too. The door opens and Bernadette's shown. Let go of me! Bernadette! Wilson runs after her. Bernadette sees him, struggles free, and runs towards Wilson. They embrace in the middle. It will be all right. You must do whatever he says. A blow comes from the stage left. They turn and look. If you unlock the Darken Stone and liberate your elf queen, you will be rewarded. He promises not to hurt anyone in Atlantia. Save my son, Wilson. My son. Wilson gets a strange look on his face. There was a time when you called me David. Bernadette falls to the ground. She hits it. She's bathed in glowing light and is revealed to be Ursa Major as the changeling mask falls off. She looks down at the mask and then up at Wilson. Now, where is Bernadette Lewis? Scene. Cool. All right. What do you guys think of that? It's okay?
I loved it.
You loved it?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah? Thank you. Unfortunately, it's terrible. That's not a very good storyboard. That is it's basically my first thumbnail pass of the storyboard. Okay. So thanks for liking that. I really appreciate it. That's good news. But this is something that would be, it's boring. It's not very inventive. It's informative, but it's not entertaining. I've satisfied every prerequisite of the script, right? I show Gandalar in the room. I see that Wilson is dropped at his feet. I see that Gandalar circles the changeling here. I move the camera around. I'm thinking about screen direction. I'm thinking about screen position as well. I have an interesting, I'm playing with depth. Gandalar walks past them, and then Wilson's like, clever enough not to align with a monster. That's all there. There's some acting. We show Bernadette. It's all there. I've satisfied the script. What I haven't done is satisfied the subtext of the script and made it entertaining, which is the one thing that we are judged on above all else. Is it entertaining? That's the one thing we're judged on. All the visual language stuff, all the drawing skills are great and they're important, but we're only judged on one thing, and it is the story entertaining? It looks pretty cool. That's fine, but it's not what I would consider good. So let's take a quick look at something here. Let me show you. And this all starts with the script breakdown. Okay, so let me bring something up here. What went wrong? These are great ones here. The problem is it's terrible. I love that one part. So, like I said, I've satisfied everything about the script. I put all the ingredients in there. I got all the characters. I got the location design. I got the props. I got the actions correct. I did everything. I put some emotion in the characters. I put it into a pie. I baked it, and it ended up on the floor. This would end up on the cutting room floor. So what went wrong is a couple of things. I have a bunch of choices and decisions that I have to make through the storyboard, and I chose the wrong ones. Let's see. So you have dozens of shots to choose from, dozens of ways to stage and compose your work. So you have, how do you make the right decision? That's always the question. We have all these tools and all these things that we can choose from. How do we pick the right ones? Something that happens a lot at work or when I'm looking through portfolios is somebody will show me a storyboard, and I will, what we call, bump into a part of the storyboard that's not quite working. And we'll say, you know what, this is not really working. And maybe we don't know exactly what, because we're looking at it for the first time a lot of the times. And then the artist will say something to the effect of, what if I change this shot? What if I make it an over the shoulder? What if I make it a down shot? What if I make it an up shot? What if I cut out wide? These are all good options, but how do you choose the right one? And the only way to make a good decision for your script is to, unfortunately, oops, you got to think first and then draw last. Okay. We are artists, which is great. And it seems counterintuitive, but we are being paid to think, not to draw, especially as a story artist. We are thinkers first, artists second. I don't want to say last because we are artists, but we are being paid to think and then draw. So I have a lot of choices and decisions. I'm looking at my script and I have to understand it at a level that allows me to tell the story visually so the audience understands it on a subconscious level, not just a superficial level. I got to really dig in there, not just show what the script has asked me to show them. So the only way to do that is to understand the intention of the sequence and of the script. And that takes a lot of detective work. So at the beginning, we were talking about being a detective and gathering all your materials. You know, you also have to do your homework and look at some, look at scenes or movies that feel similar to what you're working on. That's part of doing your homework. But then we got to read this script and the sequence and really dig down and understand it at a higher level. Let's see. So this was my first look at the script and my script breakdown. It's very superficial. Okay, I have all the physical aspects of the script, the characters, the locations, but that's it. So what I want to show you is something a little bit different about going through this. So let's save this. That's cool. I can use that later. Let us really go into the script. This is what you need to end up doing. So let's bring this in. Okay, so here's the script. Oops. All right, so a script breakdown is more than just the physical aspects of the show. Let's get this. I have this here, my pen. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so the first things we did, no problem. We know the where, the when, the who's, all this stuff. This is easy. This takes 2 minutes while you're working. But what we have to start doing is asking ourselves bigger questions for the story. So, some of the things you have to ask yourself, especially when you're thinking about shot choices, is whose story is this? Is this Gandalar's story? Is this Wilson's story? Is this Bernadette's story? Is it the troll story? I don't know. And I'll just preface this, that this is my script breakdown. This is how I looked at the script and decided that I wanted to play it. So you might have different ideas, and that's great. And that's why we want you as story artists, because you're going to have unique points of view, and that's what we want to see. So for me, this story is Wilson's story. So right there, I'm making shot choices based on that I want to see Wilson's journey throughout this sequence. Let's say mood. We always talk about feelings in storyboard. How did you feel when you watched the story? So for mood, I want to say this is dark and tense. All right, we're in a room that's lit with these pillars on with fire on top. It's dark, it's dingy. It's going to be, we want to kind of play that up. The other part then is I start looking at this, and I look at the actions. So drag. So I know that Wilson wants to be has to be dragged in and then dropped at Gandalar's feet. So these are visual cues. We're always looking for what the script is telling us sort of needs to happen and wants to happen. And then we have to decide on priorities and importance. So one of the things here, Gandalar says, "Wilson, are you surprised to see me again?" It's a pretty normal line, but I have to dig down in there and see if there's something in the line that will give me a clue or inspiration to what I want to do. And I see the word see. We're a visual medium. So when he says, "Are you surprised to see me again?" I think, oh, this is a good time. When he says the word see me, that's when I want to see his face. Sort of adds up for me. Gandalar circles the changeling. What does that mean? To me, that he's trying to be intimidating. So I'm making these notes, and Wilson is skittish. So I got to make sure that we're showing some contrast here. Gandalar is being intimidating, and Wilson is afraid. So there's contrast going on right now. Next line, where's Bernadette? I need to know she's all right. Need. That's a very powerful word. Shows desperation. I need to show that. He's desperate. That's an important part there. Gandalar has this huge monologue going on here, so I got to figure that out. I'm making a mental note to myself saying, wow, long dialogue. That takes a lot to fill up. That could be a problem. I'm looking for scripts, for problems in the script as well. Things that are going to be a problem for me to storyboard. So he has all this long dialogue. What is he else? You know, and then I'll make a note. Maybe Gandalar's got all this dialogue, but I've decided that this is Wilson's story. So for me, even though it's Gandalar's dialogue, I want to stay on Wilson. So that's huge right there, because I understand the story POV that I want to tell, how I want to start directing the sequence, that when I see something like this, I'm making the choice to stay on Wilson, that it's more important to see Wilson's reaction to the dialogue than to see Gandalar say it. That is important for me. Wilson considers Gandalar's words, but then, you know, he stands up, he gets a little brave or defiant. So he was afraid up here. Oops. But down here, he's getting defiant. And that's not a long piece of time that's happened there. I'm trying to look at the dialogue as well. So it's, you are clever. That's like a compliment, evil compliment. So he's being imposing, physically intimidating to Wilson, but he's also kind of complimenting on what he's been doing, which is contrast as well. There's a lot of contrast in this script. Wilson says, clever enough not to align with a monster. And he's like, oh, you think I'm a monster, but I can have compassion too. A troll drags a terrified Bernadette into the pit. You know, maybe my question is, from where? So I'll have to look at the location design, pick a good spot for that to happen. And based on that type of action, that affects the choreography that I'm using to create the scene. Choreography is something that we don't talk a lot about in storyboards, but we are choreographers. We have to move the chess pieces where they best work to satisfy the story. So you might put two characters in one spot and then get to an area here, and then it doesn't work. Now you've backed yourself into a corner. And that's because you haven't thought about the story enough to take into account that problem. So this part here might be very important, and it might affect how I'm choreographing the sequence. Wilson's down here. He sees Bernadette. He rushes towards her. That's great. Throws her arms around him. He attempts to comfort her. So let's start talking a little bit. Since this is Wilson's story, what about Wilson's emotional state? It's very easy to just say he's scared, but he's not just scared. He's going through an emotional journey through this sequence. So let's say he starts afraid. And then he's desperate. And we've said here, he's defiant now. He's already gone through 3 emotional states in about half a page. Oh, I think I missed something too. Let's go. He has doubt. There's doubt in here. As he's listening to Gandalar compliment him, he's like, oh, okay, cool. So he's defiant, and he gets his resolve. He finds some resolve here as well. Like I said, these are all things that I'm looking at when I'm reading the script and saying, okay, is this what he's feeling? This is what I think he's feeling. And if I'm correct, then I have to make sure that I show this in the storyboard. And then here, shock. Bernadette is revealed to him. This is what he needs to see. He needs to know she's all right. And now she's revealed. So shock and relief. So on this one page, he's gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 emotions on this one page. That's a lot. This page is only about 45 seconds. I have to show his emotional state throughout this script. We'll go on to the next page in a second as well. Actually, we'll just, let me just save that. Save. Okay, so he's gone through that. Let's move that back over here. What else is he going through? You guys already see that there. So Bernadette is there now. First thing she says to him, you must do whatever he says. That's really out of character for anybody. I mean, I have to do a little bit of the homework on this show and figure out who Bernadette is. But just on the surface, this seems very out of character. She's basically telling him to give in to Gandalar and the world just for her and her son. That's a little strange. The Staff of Darkness here, we've already talked about this. The purple gem glints in the room, mesmerizing Wilson. I think that's a big part there. Why? Why is it mesmerizing Wilson? Is it power? We all get tempted by power, no matter what the situation is. Gandalar says, if you unlock the Darkened Stone and liberate your elf queen, you will be rewarded. So power in some way. Tempted. And then Bernadette says again, he promises to not hurt anyone in Atlantia. Save my son, Wilson, my son. Still out of character. She holds him close. Wilson stares at her strangely, hit with recognition. So he knows something's wrong. Bernadette is not really herself. She would not say these things to him. She would not just give in so quickly. And he realized what's happened. He then sadly strokes her face and says this line, there was a time when you called me David. So not Wilson. Wilson is it's not personal. It's not intimate. She's called him the wrong name here. So we see that. This is pretty simple. The script has told us that, and we see it. We're like, okay, great. So that's why he understands it's not Bernadette, because of her slip up there. He shoves her hard and fast. Bernadette falls to the rocky floor, the impact knocking a change mask from her face, revealing Ursa Major. Pretty simple action, although it's also an important part of what's going on. So I'm making, let's see, a note. This part here, I want to say, is important. When I'm looking at a script, I'm prioritizing things. I'm trying to figure out what is the most important things that have to work in this sequence. Not everything has to work, but there are some things that have to in order for it to be successful. So this part I find is very important. And then little things, I have to think visually as well. I'm looking at the script, I'm also thinking visually. Maybe I'm doing thumbnails in the corners of the script as well, but I'm not really a thumbnail guy. I usually save that for later. But this part here, he shoves her hard and fast. Bernadette falls to the rocky floor, the impact knocking a change mask from her face, revealing Ursa Major. To me, this is a visual problem. And the visual problem for me is that I am trying to surprise the audience. I am trying to have the audience go on the journey of the script at the same time and not reveal things too fast or too slow. So my note here, what does I say? Careful not to show this too much. Not to, what am I saying? Show this too much. There's nothing worse than giving something away too early. We want the audience to be surprised. Because that's critical for me. It's the big reveal in this sequence where we find out that Bernadette is actually Ursa Major. Even though we've been given clues because she's acting out of character, we're still seeing Bernadette, and we want to make sure that when we reveal that it's not her, that it has impact. It has to have impact. My problem here, this for me is a problem. One of the things I always look for in a script is the problem that I have to solve. There's every sequence, everything has a problem that has to be solved visually. Writers are great. They're giving us the exact, they're giving us what we need. But they're just words, and we have to dig in deeper. Now, every script page that you receive is roughly 45 seconds on the screen. So what that means to a writer is that they cannot fill the page with everything they want to put in there. Writers love to write, and they will write forever if they can. So, but they have economy, they have to be economical in their words because they can only put so much on a page. So we have to go in and figure out exactly the intention of what's going on here. So for me, we're figuring it out, but this is a visual problem. Let's say visual problem. How to make this interesting. So this will be difficult. To me, this is the note. This will be difficult. To show quickly. And with impact. So I'm already thinking to myself, okay, I have to figure out some things. There's going to be some actions in the script that are more important than others, and I have to make sure those work. And this is one of them here, this whole section. And then he screams, "Now where is Bernadette Lewis?" That's great. Let's see what else. So emotional state too. Wilson's emotional state. Continued. So what is he doing? Let me just bring up my notes. So he's still going. Tempted. Tempted and doubt. Bernadette is promising, she wants her son back. So he's confused. He doesn't know what to do exactly. But then recognition. Recognition and anger. And then, to me, at the end, he's defiant. So just look at how many emotional states Wilson has gone through in this page and a half, at least in my interpretation of the script. And since I'm doing the script, I'm important. I have to figure this out. One of the other things too is we have to figure out, maybe we need to figure out Gandalar a little bit more. Gandalar is the worst kind of evil person. Okay, not only is Gandalf physically intimidating, he's also a thinker. And that's the worst kind of person, right? That's someone who he's trying to trick Wilson on two fronts, both physically with Bernadette, but also trying to tempt him with power. So let's say Gandalf intent. Trying to trick Wilson. In two ways. One with Bernadette, Ursa Major. So he's playing to Wilson's need to save Bernadette. And then tempting with power. Power of the darkened staff. So he's using deception and trickery to get what he wants. So he's not just a one-trick bad guy. He's doing multiple things to get his way. So I have to understand that. You have to understand that so that you can make the right choices when you're creating your shots and you're acting. Let's see. What do you guys think about that?
It's so much more to think about than I thought.
Yes. We have, that's the one thing that we have to look for. Like a lot of times, story artists don't think that they're working unless they're drawing. But a lot of our work, it has to be done in the thinking process. So think first, draw last. So a lot of artists will spend a day or day and a half just reading the script and making the notes and really just trying to understand what they have to do. Because like I said, you have so many choices and decisions to make, but you can't make the right ones unless you know the intention of what you want to do. And that's why my first storyboard was a failure, because I did not have this in mind while I was doing it. So when you guys are working on your films, you're going to have to break down your scripts like this as well. You're going to have to release your inner critic. Okay, you're going to have to be your worst critic. And we're all critics, right? We all watch movies and go, wow, that was terrible. Like within a second, but then we watch other movies and go, yeah, that was okay. If we know somebody who did it, it's like, oh yeah, that was great. But if we don't know the person, we're like, it's either good or it's bad. Or what the other thing that happens is, at least with some of my friends, sometimes you watch a movie and you see a scene that doesn't work. And you think to yourself, well, if they had done this, if I can fix that scene, if you do this, then everything works. That must mean I'm a better filmmaker. Yeah, right? But it's not entirely true. So you have to start thinking critically about your work, about the script, about your work, about your thumbnails, about your ideas. Critical thinking is a big thing that you have to start getting into as well. Everything can look pretty, but even if the drawings are great, it still might be wrong. And that's one of the worst things about being a story artist, is that you can do all the drawings and satisfy the script and still be wrong. So the previous storyboard that I just showed you, I did all those drawings, took me the day and a half, whatever it was. Those would all be on the cutting room floor. I would have to redo that all again. And that sucks. So let's take a look at this. So I'll show you my notes. Let me just want to get this down. No, that was weird. this one, this one. So let's say this is how I break down my script. You can see that I've done a lot more writing and a lot more thinking on the script. I have almost as many words on the page as the script itself. And that's what you need to do as well. You got to look in there and figure it out. You have to start asking yourselves questions. Here's another question as well that I didn't have. Is this, the two trolls drag Wilson by the arms, dropping him at Gandalar's feet? I'm asking myself this action for drag. Is this action important? Do I need to show him being dragged in? Or is the most important part that he's being dropped at Gandalar's feet? So you have to decide that. Is it, how do you want to do it? Just because it's in the script doesn't mean you actually have to show that. Don't tell that to script writers, they'll kill you, but this is a question that we have to ask ourselves. A couple of other notes, Gandalar here, line 33, you think I'm a monster, but I can have compassion too. He's cunning and evil. So you really got to dig in there. That's what we do, we dig. Now, let's see. This is the fun part though, when you can go into a script and really tear it apart and really figure out the subtext of what's going on. This is the fun part. This after you do this and do your thumbnails, you've already done the work. It's almost a drag to do the work, to do the drawings afterwards, because you've already figured it out. Let's close that down. All right. Dun, dun, dun. And then, like I said, my first attempt there was bad because it wasn't entertaining. The drawings are fine. They work. But the audience, and I'm the audience as well, I'm looking at this and going, okay, I see the actions, but I'm not entertained. I understand the story at a superficial level, but I'm not really engaged in the story. So the drawings don't matter here. They're fine. This is like a rough pass. I would want to go through it again and clean it up a little bit better. And I don't mean rigidly on model. I just mean I would just want to make it a little bit more appealing for myself. So the big problem is that it was not entertaining. Now let's do this again. Okay. So I got to go through the thumbnail process again. We won't go through the whole thing. It is getting a little late, but I want to show you a little bit. Okay. So this is part of the concept of what I was talking about being able to draw fearlessly and not have your ideas be affected by your ability to draw it or an inability to draw it. So at the beginning, let's see, what did I have at the beginning? Let's close all that down because I don't need that anymore. All right. At the beginning, I had this shot here, which shows the room, it shows Gandalar, it shows Wilson being dragged in. It is informative, but it's not entertaining. It works, it satisfies the script, but it's my first idea. And I don't know about you guys, but my first ideas are my worst ideas. I have to go on the creative journey. I have to go on and say, okay, this is what needs to happen. Here's an idea. This is almost like a topographical map of what needs to happen. But now how do I want to show that to the audience? And how do I want that to reflect the mood in the room as well? It's got to be dark and tense. I'm trying to set something up for the audience to start feeling. So remember that first ideas are sometimes your worst ideas. Now you got to learn to draw fearlessly. So I want to do some other things. I want to get moody and show them things. So here we go. Let's start at the top. So I'm going to show the pillars of fire. So it's an upshot. And you can use gray tone as well to help sell it. And then what I want to do for my idea is I want to start at the top, and then I want to tilt the camera down to show the rest of the room. So I'm not going to draw all that here because I don't need to. It's just a thumbnail. So I'm going to say tilt camera. Tilt cam down. And then I'm going to end up, let's say, in a shot like that. We're going to see that back door. So I'm setting the stage here. These are those are two of the pillars. And then I'm going to have, let's say, I'm going to have the two trolls come in. Dragging Wilson. Now, for me, like I was saying before, I don't necessarily need to show Wilson being dragged. He can still be walking. It's not like he's unconscious. I need him conscious for this script. So he's being dragged, but he's, you have to understand, how do you think of the action when you hear the word dragged? To me, I think unconscious, plopped onto the floor, sprawled out down, but I need him to be awake. So I'm just trying to think a little bit about the practicalities of the things I need to do. So he comes in, I'm going to say from 3/4 front, and he gets dragged in there. And I still kind of like the idea of him being dragged down and put down on the ground here. But I'm on his knees. He's on his knees, and then let's move him here, and I got the two trolls exit. Personality. I got to start showing some personality here as well, right? So in my first board, I had Wilson plop down on the ground, and then all of a sudden, right away, Gandalar says, "Wilson." But I kind of want to play this up a little bit. I'm going to have Wilson looking around. It's nothing worse than someone who's being held prisoner to sort of stew in his own juices a little bit. So look around. Allow him to be afraid. Allow the audience to see that Wilson is afraid. He looks around. And then we can have the dialogue, whatever that one is. What is this? 29. Off screen, we can say Wilson. So Wilson comes off screen. Woo. Now, here's other choices and decisions I have to make. This is the first reveal of Gandalar to the audience. How do I want to show him? How do I make him intimidating to both to Wilson and to the audience? So I have to figure that out. The one way I was thinking was, I want to show him dark in shadows first. So he will be back here. And then I just want to make a note for myself that he's in shadow. So I just kind of create out. And I do have to remember that the door is behind him as well. So he wasn't there at the beginning, but that's okay. That's a logic problem that I don't care to really need to solve. I'm prioritizing different things, and that's okay. So what I want him to do is he's dark and shadowy. He's like, Wilson, he's got that gravelly voice. And then he starts making his way forward. I want to have him move up to camera. And then eventually I want to see him standing in front of Wilson, looking down. Big upshot. I want him framed by the pillars with fire. So this could be 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 panels. We'll figure it out. But I think that is a little bit more dramatic. If I have him walk forward from the shadows and then come in, you know, when he says the word see, that's when we're just about to see him, or that's when we see him. So I'm using the visual cues in the script to help me plan my work. Not just showing them what the script has asked me to do, but showing it in an interesting way. So what does he say there? Well, you know, Wilson, we can have a little gap there, you know, 29. Are you surprised to see me again? I think that's pretty cool. So already here, we're seeing the creative journey of just being able to do the script and then thinking about how to show it to the audience in an interesting way. So Gandalar is there. Let's see, what do we want to do? So I got to show that Wilson is afraid. So let's show him afraid. If you're afraid, you're going to back up. You're going to back away from the thing that's scaring you, right? So back away. Use your own human experiences to influence your work. If I'm afraid of something, I'm moving back away from it. I don't want to get closer. That means I'm not afraid. So I'm moving away. Although I think maybe I skipped a spot. So maybe let's move this over here. I do need to show some spatial awareness of everybody in the room. So what I've done, as you can see here at the beginning, I've shown a little bit of the room. I've set the mood. I've introduced Wilson. I've introduced Gandalar. But now I sort of technical factor. I do have to show where everybody is in the room. So let's just say, Wilson's here. Let's say the 2 trolls that brought him in are standing by the pillars, and Gandalar is standing above him. We got the 2 pillars as well. And I can be as far back as possible. As far back as it will allow me to see the action is the best. One of the big things we want to make sure is that we see the room. So I've set the spatial awareness a little bit. So I know where Wilson is. I know where Gandalar is compared in relation to him. I see where the trolls are. I know where everything is. So as the audience, I am no longer asking those questions. Where did those trolls go? How close is Gandalar to Wilson? I am now seeing it. I'm trying to propel the story forward, but I also answering these questions that an audience will have. And unfortunately, sometimes that means we gotta go out wide to show that, and then we can kind of come back in. Otherwise, if we don't do that, all of our shots are very close to each other because we're, you know, over the shoulders, we're tight on the faces because it's a very tense sequence. But then the audience doesn't know where everybody is. They can't understand how close Wilson is to Gandalar and all these things. So they're starting to question a little bit of what's going on, and we have to remove those questions. So what else we got here? So I want Gandalar to start moving towards Wilson. I need him to be intimidating. So let's move that forward. Let's say he just starts moving forward there. And Wilson starts moving back. So here's another thing. I'm cutting on the action a little bit. Wilson is starting to move back. And in the next shot, I'm making sure that he is in motion. Trying to maintain his screen position as well. But here, I'm not going to really be able to do it. I mean, he is here. I can start him there. I'll try to massage that while I'm doing it. So maybe he's going to be there and move back. So I'm cutting on the action. I'm trying to remember all these little techniques that will make it smoother for the audience to review. I want a cool little transition as well. So what do I want to do? I want to have Wilson here. He's already moving back. I want to have Gandalar pass him in the foreground. So he's being super intimidating. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use Gandalar to wipe the scene. So I want to transition to something else, to a different shot, and I'm going to use Gandalar to do that. Think about your transitions. It's one of the things that we don't think about a lot, but makes a huge difference in your storytelling. And it makes it, if you can do it right, it makes it far more interesting. So I'm going to use Gandalar to wipe the frame to do my cut, and I'm going to be closer on Wilson right away. So this is a wipe. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it's more interesting. Here as well. Now, we'll talk about this a little bit at the end, but the script says Gandalar circles Wilson. So when I'm going through my script breakdown, I'm looking at that saying he's trying to be intimidating. In the previous storyboard, I had the camera very high above him, which is sometimes called a security cam view, which tells me the information, but it takes the audience out of the story. It takes them away from the tension. So I want to stay down here. I want to maintain tension. And if not, I want to ramp it up even more because Gandalar is trying to be intimidating. So how do I do that? For me, I just want to be closer on Wilson. So I'm using this shot here where we've transitioned. So he's kind of moving back. I can push him back a little bit from the screen. And then he's all scared and have Gandalar come in and start really being in his face. And I want to, my idea here is I want to have Gandalar circle Wilson in this shot. So Wilson will be pushed through around in the frame as Gandalar circles him. Gandalar is in control, and I have to show that. So I'll have Wilson try to struggle. He's just got to get out of there. So like playing with a rat. It's like, oh yeah, you can run wherever you want, but I know where you're going. So we can have him move forward here. We can play with we use the camera to circle him a little bit while he's going. Rawr. And then what do I want? I want to finish, basically I want to finish with Wilson down here and Gandalar really just in his face again. Because he's even though he's intimidating, he's also saying the line, "You are clever." So he's being intimidating, but Wilson should still be very scared. One of the things I'm trying to do is there's a lot of subconscious visual storytelling that I'm trying to do here as well, where I'm trying to play Wilson and Gandalar in the frame as submissive and or dominant. So Wilson is the submissive one now in this shot. So every scene that I have with him, his eye level is below Gandalar's. So here, Gandalar's up here, Wilson is here. Wilson's eye line is here, Gandalar is here. Dominant eye line there, Wilson's eye line is below that. Wilson's eye line never gets above Gandalar's because I want to maintain a little bit of subconscious to the audience that Gandalar is dominant over him. Even in the last shot here, and I'll play it up when I do the rough, I am having Gandalar fill up most of the frame compared to Wilson. If you do it as a silhouette, Gandalar fills up 3/4 of the frame and Wilson fills up the bottom 10%. So even with our acting, we're also trying to use our staging and composition to help enhance the story at the same time. So I'm trying to use a lot of dominant and submissive visual storytelling to enhance the story that I am trying to tell. So I have an intention and I'm trying to use all the skills that I have to fulfill that intention. Not just show the superficial act of the story, but the underlying intention of the story. And then here, let's just say Gandalar exits. So he's gone. And then when I go back to my script, I understand that Wilson is now thinking. He's starting to become defiant because Gandalar says, "Oh, you are clever." He's giving him an evil compliment. And Wilson finds some defiance and he says, "Clever enough not to align with a monster." But it's not realistic to expect him to say that right afterwards. You know, we have to see the change in his emotional state in order to believe that it's authentic. And if we see that, then we believe it. But if we don't see it, then it's just actions. And we're not going to do just actions. We're trying to tell a real story. So I'm going to show Wilson thinking. He's got to be thinking here. And then he's got to get a little bit of his resolve. He's still low in the frame, but he's still in the weak position. But for him, he's starting to think, okay, I'm gonna be defiant. I need to stand up for myself. So weak, thinking, and then he's thinking, and then defiant. I need to see the change in his emotional state in order to believe it as the audience. Critical. That's the difference between drawing pictures and telling a story. So he gets defiant, and now I want to see, let's see, Gandalar, he's still top in the frame. He's walking away. And then I'm going to have Wilson start to stand and say his line, "Clever enough not to fall in with not to align with a monster like you." So he's going to turn. Let's make sure that this is still small in the frame. I'm still maintaining eye lines are high and low. So he starts this line, stands up. What's the number of his lines? 32. So he's doing 32 here. Okay. And then I'm going to have start his 33. So this is 32, 33. So it says, clever enough not to align with a monster. And he says, you think I'm a monster? And then I want to cut. While he's talking, I want to cut. So I'm going to cut on his dialogue because it's cutting on the action. It's motivating me to just cut. If I want to cut, this is the time to do it. Not wait for him to say his line and then cut. That's very static. It's very A to B to C. We want to make this a little bit smoother. So what am I going to do here? So I need to maintain his screen direction as well. Sorry, screen position. So Gandalar is here. It's like, oh, you think I'm a monster? We'll have the doors back here. Reveal the doors, make sure that when I do the roughs, I'll make sure that the room feels big and not so small as in my roughs. So he moves back. He's like, but I can have compassion too. So the reason why I have Gandalar here is to maintain my screen position from here. So that's a choice that I'm making, a decision that I need to make, and that's why I'm doing it. I have reasons and choices, so reasons for everything that I'm doing. And then let's say the door opens. We see the troll and Bernadette. Perfect. Let's save that before I lose any work. That is the worst thing that would ever happen to you, to lose work. Let's go next. If you guys have any questions, you're more than free to ask them as well while I'm doing this. So what I got here. So we see Bernadette coming out of the room. I want to get a little bit closer. This is what Wilson has been looking for. He's been looking for Wilson. So for me, that means I want to see Bernadette. I want to make sure that the audience sees her. Gotta change this over. So let's get a little bit closer, seeing her dilemma. She's being dragged out by a troll. Not worried about the drawing. So we see Bernadette now. She's like, let go of me. Actually, you know what? I want to be closer, since this is really important. Troll is not as important as Bernadette. Bernadette is the key figure here that Wilson has been looking for. So we see Bernadette, and now I want to see Wilson's reaction to her. Because I know that he's desperate to see her. I need to know if Bernadette's okay. I need to know. Now he sees her. I want to see his reaction to this. Bernadette. So he's like, Bernadette, what is that line? 35. I can reuse some of this. Now, my first ideas, like I said, are usually not my best ideas, but there are things that I can take from it to use into my next pass. So here I have that shot with the troll dragging Bernadette. I can do exactly what I wanted to do before, where she breaks away and runs after him, runs towards Wilson. She breaks away. Let's say she runs towards Wilson. But in this case, I want the troll to be chasing her. Rawr. He's chasing her. Why would he just let her get away, right? That does not seem real. So he's chasing her. We're going to truck out a little bit as well. She exits. I want her to exit, and he is still chasing. He's going to catch her, right? There's no reason why he wouldn't catch her. But the reason I want, and then what I want to do is show him stopped. Maybe that's a little bit too big. So the troll is stopped. And we reveal that it's Gandalar who stopped him. Now, why am I doing that, right? The reason is because I understand Gandalar's intention in the script. He's trying to play two games here. He's trying to trick Wilson with Bernadette, so he's allowing them to come together. That's part of his plan. Tricky, tricky. So now I have the shot where Wilson and Bernadette are going to come together. Now I want to make this special as well, not just a medium shot where they come running at each other. I'm going to do the cliche. Ooh, that's really terrible. I'm going to do the cliche where they come running at each other and the camera spins around them as they embrace and they spin around the room a little bit. So I'm not going to draw that all here because that's unnecessary in my thumbnails. But I'm also going to be trucking in at the same time. So I'm trucking in and I'm moving the camera on the next shot. So trucking in, let's just say, I don't need to draw this completely out, but let's say they embrace. Her legs are in the air as he turns her around. It's like a Hallmark moment. Oops. We'll just say cam. I'll understand what's going on. That's the important part. If I need to show this to the director, I will have to draw it out a little bit better so that they understand it. But for me, it's fine. I get it. And then I want to end basically at the same spot where I ended on the first time. Where they're close to the camera and we can see them. So this is Bernadette and this is Wilson. Enough. That's the end of my camera move. Let's see, what else do I got? Same thing, even though here too, we see the light coming from screen left, because I don't have any, doesn't matter to me if they're coming in screen left or screen right. So I'm doing that. And then I'm cutting wide again to show the staff being brought in. Darkens over here. Bernadette, Wilson over here, the two trolls over here. I still have to remember where everybody is in the room. Just because I don't want to draw it doesn't mean it's not happening. I have to remember that this is a real world, even though it's a cartoon. So I'm going to do this. Same thing. So the troll brings in the staff, and basically I'm going to have him walk pretty close to him. Maybe I'll have to figure out the distance later, but that is something that will be decided during editing when I'm timing it out. And remember, we are working to edits, to animatics. What that means is that nobody sees the PDF of your work. Everyone works from the animatic, the timed animatic. So your work has to work to timing. You don't have to be perfect. We do have editors that are paid good money to do the timing, but you have to think about timing. Because if you don't, your work will end up on the floor. So we get the troll, he brings the staff close to them. Gandalar says whatever he's gonna say, 38 if you unlock darkened stone. So let's say 38. That's cool. So once again, I've reestablished where everybody is in the room, and I'm trying to do it in an interesting way and bringing the darkened stone in at the same time. Let's cut back to these two kids. And now I'm going to have the darkened stone come between them. So this comes in basically in this direction. And it's glowing. So this is a little visual language thing as well, where Bernadette and Wilson are together, and now they separate, and I'm having the staff between them. What I'm trying to show the audience without telling them is that the only thing standing between Wilson and Bernadette being together is Wilson using the staff. It's a subconscious thing, it's a visual thing. I don't know if it completely reads, but that's what I'm trying to say. I'm having an idea and I want to try to put it in there, even if it's not completely consciously noticeable. I'm hoping that subconsciously the audience will pick up on that. So I'm separating Bernadette and Wilson with the staff. So Wilson is one side, Bernadette's there. The only thing standing between them is the staff. I think that hopefully would work. And that is not something that I put into my script breakdown. That is something that I only thought of while I'm drawing the pictures out. So I have to be present while I'm doing my thumbnails and thinking, so that I can think of these things while I'm doing it, and not just say, well, I've done the script breakdown, so I'm just going to do exactly that. We are constantly self-editing our work, trying to come up with ideas. Like I said at the beginning, we're all ambitious people. We got into animation because we are ambitious. We want to do something different with our lives. And that means we have to have ambitious ideas and put them down on the page. What else do we got here? So I need to show Gandalar. He's going to start tempting Wilson. It's nice. I want to do a little upshot. And I do want to have one of the pillars there. So he's saying his line. Now, Gandalar is trying to tempt Wilson with power. So I'm going to do another cliche shot where I'm going to show Wilson's face inside the stone. I want to see something that says that Wilson is actually considering this. You know, why wouldn't he? He's got Bernadette. The only thing standing between him and Bernadette is using the staff. And there's power, and he's being offered reward as well. So why wouldn't he really consider this? He should consider it. He should be tempted. And that is more interesting to the audience as well, to think, is he going to do that? We kind of know that he's not. Excuse me. We kind of know that he's not, but we're trying to be present, and we want to say, okay, he is tempted. Let's show that a little bit. So he's tempted. Let's see here. And then Bernadette makes the fateful mistake of just getting into it too much. So I'm going to go behind the shoulder. She's going to plead, please save my son, Wilson, please. She kind of puts her head in his chest. She's playing all the tricks as much as possible. So what is she saying? You must do whatever he says. Da, 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 da. He promises to save my son. So this is 39. And I want my son to hit right here. So I'm making sure, I'm trying to direct that. trying to be as intentional as I can. She holds him close. And then Wilson stares at her strangely, hit with recognition. But remember, this is where I put that this is a problem. I want to make sure that I'm not giving away what Wilson is going to do before it happens. So I want to see that Wilson. And then, because we know the story, we know what's going to happen, that Wilson is not going to fall for it, but we want the audience to think that he's going to fall for it. Don't do it, Wilson. You want them in their seats going, don't do it, Wilson. Don't do it. She's lying. That's what you want. And then here I want to see Gandalar again. Gandalar. So if the audience believes that Wilson might do it, then Gandalar believes that he might do it as well. Gandalar thinks he's about to win. Right? That's cool. So we want to show that. And then obviously we're going to have Bernadette and Wilson. He's going to push her away. Okay. I'm going to stop my thumbnails there because I want to show you the ending that I've created for this and see if it has the impact that I need it to have. What do you guys understand some of the what we've been talking about here for the thumbnails and the script intention and just having more choices and trying to figure out how to make better decisions? Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I'm wondering, like, you have like some really neat ideas, like, oh, his face is reflected in the gems, and you always get, like, is that just experience where you come up with like these cool, like, oh, what if I do this, or what if I do that, or is there like a method to that? Does that make sense?
Yes, that's a great question. I think all of your answers are the right ones, where it is experience. It's watching a lot of content over our lives. We've all watched a ton of TV and we continue to watch it. So being a little bit more focused while we're watching and seeing what filmmakers are doing, what other story artists are doing, and why they're working, and understanding that, and then being able to apply that and then make it my own, make it our own as well. So I'll start with a cliche idea and try to make it my own idea. But yeah, it really comes from yourself, right? Your sensibilities, your unique vision. It's one of the things that's tough to understand about yourself, maybe at this time, because maybe a lot of people don't feel that they're unique or that they have a unique vision. But what we have to remember is that we all come from different places. We all have a different history and a different experience, a different way of interacting with things, that if you can understand the story and take your experience and put it in there, it will be unique. And then the other part is just going on the creative journey that thumbnails allows you to go on. Because nobody's going to look at these thumbnails later. You can just, it's not great. It's not a great term, but we call it the barf pass at House of Cool. We just put down all of our ideas as much as possible, knowing that 90% of them will go away. And we might put down an idea and say, okay, well, I like this panel and I like this scene, but they both don't work. But you know what? If I combine these scenes, that's a better shot. That works much better. Let's do that. So just when you're going through your creative process and your creative journey, going through your script, just put everything down and then look at it like a puzzle and see how you can put it together to tell the best story you can.
Awesome. Thanks.
No problem. Okay, so what I want to show you next is the final product on this. Let us do that. We'll get rid of this crappy image. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to pitch you this board now. Here we go. Okay. We start inside the Black Forge Dark Market Day. We're angled up on the top. We see the fires burning, and we tilt the camera down to the dark door. We see the trolls dragging Wilson in. He's thrown to the floor. Whew. He looks around, scared. Wilson! Are you surprised to see me again? Where's Bernadette? I need to know she's all right. Such compassion. You've spent so long pretending to be human. You think you are one, but beneath that skin, we are the same. You escaped my son's wrath, survived Gunthar's rampage, and now you pull the strings on the chosen one himself. You are clever. Clever enough not to align with a monster. You think I'm a monster? But I can have compassion too. Let go of me. See Bernadette struggling. Bernadette! She looks over, struggles free. She runs over to Wilson with the troll chasing her. We pull out to see Gandalar stopped him. Wilson and Bernadette run towards each other and embrace as the camera spins around them. It will be all right. You must do whatever he says. Their light comes from the off screen. They look over and we see a troll bringing in the staff of Darkan as the trolls kneel beside him. If you unlock the Darkan Stone and liberate the Elf Queen, you will be rewarded. He promises not to hurt anyone in Atlantia. Save my son, Wilson. My son. We get close up on Wilson. See pained expression. Cut to Gandalar as he thinks he's about to win. There was a time when you called me David. Pushes her off screen. But what comes out next is Ursa Major. She looks up, looks over at Gandalar, touches her face, realizes, and then over to Wilson. And we cut and we see Bernadette's face. We truck out. We see Wilson holding her face. It glows and changes into the changeling mask. And we see, and then he steps forward. Now, where is Bernadette Lewis? Cut. And that's the scene. So, hopefully, you would think that that one is better than the first one. Any thumbs up on that one? I'm going to need to see this one, hopefully. Yeah? A little bit? Good. Not that the first one wasn't awful. It was fine, but it wasn't entertaining. So let me stop sharing there. Whew. Okay. So that was a lot of stuff going on there, right? Whew. So the things that we were talking about there was that we just have to be better critical thinkers about our work. We have to look at the script, really understand it, understand what is being asked of us, and then add our unique voices to that and make it entertaining. And if you can make it entertaining, then you've done the job. And that's really what everyone's looking for. You can be taught skills and techniques. That's not a problem. What is more difficult to teach is how to be entertaining, how to have interesting ideas, and then how to show them. And that's really kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And hopefully it's made some of you guys more excited to be story artists, and some of the people who maybe never thought about being a story artist, maybe this hopefully has sparked some interest in it. But let's see. Otherwise, that's sort of the end of the presentation. And I want to answer any questions that you guys might have.
I have a question.
Yes.
So my question is about how much you rely on the director, because like, do you ask a lot of questions to him? Do you allow to ask them? And because like when I work on something that not my project, I tend to think what the client wants to see rather what I want to see there. But like, for example, if you're working on assignment, I tend to think like what teacher used to like to see.
That's good. Knowing the audience is really important, and that's part of it. So one of the things working with the director, if you have a good director or supervisor, they will launch you on your board and tell you what they want to see, right? They'll say, some of them will give you thumbnails, some of them will give you just written notes. We try to always give the director what they want at least the first time, and then start building up from there. We also have to remember that directors are human beings, and sometimes they're not able to articulate exactly what they're looking for. It's hard for someone to say, give me this and it will work. If you draw this, you will succeed. That's not really the way it works in our industry. So we have to read the room a little bit. So sometimes the director will say they want something, but they don't really want that. What they really want is something amazing, something that is entertaining. And it's a very fine line to know what that is, because you could go off road and do something that you think the director wants, and they say, no, that's terrible, just do what I asked you to do. And that is a risk that we take, and that's part of the job. But sometimes you could do something that is so amazing that they go, wow, okay, I didn't see it that way, but what you've done, you've sold me on the idea. So risks and rewards. I would say at the beginning, we always try to give the director what they've asked for and build trust with the director. So once we build trust, we gain more respect from the director, and then we start introducing our ideas a little bit more. We say, oh, okay, this is what, maybe the second board, we say, okay, here's the board that you asked for. I've added in a couple extra things. Maybe you take a look at it and see if you like it. We pitch it to them. And just little by little, they gain more trust with us, so that eventually what happens is if it's done correctly, eventually they will say, Camilla, you know what? You've done such a great job on those other ones. I'm not even going to tell you what to do. Just go do what you do. Do what you do it fast, and bring it back to me, and let's take a look at it. But that takes time, and that takes trust. So say you're a director, say you're working with a couple of people, and you say, here's my story, I want you to do it this way. And they come back and they've done it completely different. And they say, I think it's better. And you go, no, that's not what I wanted. You're not going to trust them. So you're going to have to just build up that trust a little bit And eventually, when you show your unique ideas and how you like to say things, they will go, yes, great, let's do that.
Thank you.
Welcome. Take advantage of me being here. Ask me anything, questions.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Just what's like something that you would say, like, despite your years in the industry and experience, what do you still struggle with? And something that would be good to kind of get a, if you wanted to do it, get a head start on, I guess, improving on to someone who's new.
I think the thing I still struggle with is ideas, how to make something interesting. We like to talk about at work, you know, give the audience what they expect, but in unexpected ways, which is really difficult because we've seen so much content out there. So we're trying to think of things that will shock and surprise the audience, but still remain authentic. So for me, it's still coming up with the ideas to be interesting, because when you've worked for a long time as a story artist, you have to remember that your job is to be creative, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot of energy thinking about things. The physical part of the job becomes quite a lot easier because you've just drawn for so long and it's not really a problem. But maintaining creativity and being able to keep thinking of new ideas and new ways to show things is probably the hardest part.
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else got questions? Wow,
Yeah,
that must be amazing.
I do.
Yeah.
So, during the beginning of the meeting, you mentioned something called the suspension of disbelief. You brought it up like several times during the lecture, but it never really clicked with me. Like, what does it mean? What do you mean when something has the suspension of disbelief?
Yeah, maybe I'm saying that right. It's a suspension of disbelief. Suspension.
Wait, what was it? Or maybe I got it wrong. I'm sorry.
No. Sometimes I say things and I don't remember what they're talking about. You just have to remember that we're creating suspension of disbelief is right. Thank you, Caitlin. Awesome. Yes. So we are working in a fictional world. We are working in cartoons. We, as human beings, innately know that this is not real. These characters are not real. The story is not real. This is not happening. We are tasked with trying to make this believable. So Disney, you know, they're having talking foxes and talking rabbits, but they're creating a world that the audience believes is real. The movie Book of Life, these are undead characters in the underworld, stuff that we don't know about, can't see. We have to try to create a world that remains authentic to itself so that the audience is sucked into it and believes what is happening is actually happening. Does that help?
Thank you very
answer?
much. Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. It's a tough one because they're drawings and they're cartoon characters. If I saw a cartoon character come up to me in real life, I would freak out. Like, that would just be scary as hell. But on the screen, it looks cool, and we are trying to make story. That's why we're all here, right? We're all want to be filmmakers and make cartoons because that's something that we grew up loving. And there was something that we watched when we were younger, that when we watched it, we were right there in there. We were in the story. We loved it. We believed it. We wanted to know what was happening, even though we knew it was unreal. And that's something that we have to continue doing for all the projects we work on.
My favorite's having a group of adults in a room all arguing what about a cartoon character would or wouldn't do.
Oh, yeah, it is. If it's recorded and you play it somewhere else, like play it at a corporate meeting, they'll just be like, "You guys get paid for that?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're like, "Yeah, get paid good money to do it as well.
Any other questions or comments for Drew?
I have a question. Are there any differences between animation or storyboarding for TV versus movies?
Yes, there's significant differences, very much similar to the differences between doing a comic book and doing storyboards. So feature boards are when you get a script, much like what we just did right there, you are telling the subtext of the script. You're trying to really dig down deep and to say what is not being seen on the page. Also, feature storyboard artists, sometimes called story artists, have more ability to work on the story of what's going on with the characters. They have a little bit more input about what will be on the screen, and by that I mean what the story eventually ends up becoming. They have a more robust support structure, and what I mean by that is that their boards can be much looser and drawn with less technical precision, meaning like layouts and backgrounds and spatial awareness. It doesn't have to be exact because they have departments afterwards which will make their work better, right? So it's feature work is very much like a marathon, or sorry, a race where you're passing the baton to the next person and the next department, and they will take that and make it better, and then they pass it to the next department and they make it better. So it's constantly editing throughout the whole process. TV is a little different, where we are a little bit more like a factory. So I've done many years in TV. I've worked on a few features, but TV is usually a 4 or 5 week deadline. You've got to get all your work done in that time. And we are also providing a blueprint for the entire production. So the layout crew who gets your board after storyboards, they are relying on your information in the board to complete their work. They do have some leeway to do what they need to do and change shots here and there, whatever, but 90% of the time, your board needs to be shown on screen. So, and same with the acting, with the animators. The animators have